The third program is the feedback programs, that is, increasing feedback about performance of the employee. Final job related change that the organizations concerned about burnout should consider is increasing the amount of feedback that workers receive about their job performance. So, in most of the cases, jobs are constructed so that the employee rarely hears when things go right, but always hear when things go wrong. So, this is especially true in jobs where the main service, like the employee provides, is advising people about how to solve their problems. For example, in human services organizations, there isn't this built-in bias that actually prevents employees from receiving positive feedback for a job well done. So, however, this is true for almost any organization. So, therefore, the organizations need to make a conscious effort to devise ways of obtaining such feedback for employees. And the first point, one such method that is to ask the clients. That is, asking clients to indicate how satisfied they are with the service they received, maybe using a client feedback survey. So, when client feedback surveys are conducted on a regular basis, they not only provide the feedback about how well the service or the provider or the employee is currently performing, but they also give the employee information about whether his or her performance has improved or declined. The second point, or the other way method, is the co-workers. So, co-workers are also a potential source of feedback about how well the employees are doing on their jobs. So, just as an organization might ask clients to complete a feedback survey, the co-workers can be asked to make evaluations of each other, assuming that they are able to observe each other's performance on the job. So, the co-worker evaluations have an advantage in that they are being made by a person who is fully aware of the constraints placed on the employees by the organization. Because whereas the clients will tend to evaluate the service that they have received against an ideal standard that they may have received before. So the evaluation of co-workers will be based on an understanding of professional ethics and the practices and the organizational realities. The third point is the subordinate feedback. So it's a great way for supervisors and managers to find out how well they are doing, because we all tend to gradually adapt to and get comfortable in the conditions in which we find ourselves. So we forget to as such understand how others feel we are doing. So because managers are responsible for others, it is imperative for them to find out what their subordinates think of them. So the employees are first to know. So if the boss is becoming callous, or because the employees are usually reluctant to give the boss bad news, the personal department can play a critical organizational role by conducting surveys and feeding the results back to the managers. Suspect if employee is burned out. Till now, we have been discussing about how the organization can take in the actions or the strategies to prevent burnout. But if the employee is experiencing burnout, how a manager or even a co-worker can suspect. So, what to do when a co-worker or the organizational managers or the supervisors suspect that an employee is burned out? So, as soon as one suspect that the employee is experiencing burnout, first, creating a list of everything that's once absorbed and that has led to think that the person is experiencing burnout. So, recalling the employee's particular expressions and body language, and things like he or she is taking frequent sick leaves, or maybe not completing the work on time, when an employee was before completing everything on time. So, things like the changes in punctuality, attendance, and other changes that one has observed. So preferably noting when that the changes has been observed. So also noting the observations from the co-workers can also help to identify the changes. So after noticing the particular changes, setting up a meeting in private is the best option. So express your concern about the changes you have observed in him or her. So then describe specifically what you have observed without attaching the judgment to it. Because if we attach that, when we say directly that I guess you're experiencing burnout, that will make the employee not being opened up to the employer. So when you have done said about everything, then ask the employee if he or she knows what's going on. So give the employee an opportunity to speak. Even if he or she does not speak up right away, don't just fill up the airspace by talking. So remain silent. So if the employee finally opens up to you, don't interrupt or react negatively. Let the employee get everything out. So based upon what the employee tells you, or if the employee does not speak at all, suggest that he or she uh, should seek a professional help. So don't just diagnose the problem by yourself. So for instance, don't tell the employee that he or she is burnt out. So first the professional help may needs to just examine the patient and then possibly run some tests to get a better read of the situation. So be compassionate and do what you can. Remember, however, a burned out employee cannot take the practice down with him or her. So the issue has to be resolved. There is this common misconception that burnouts only happen in huge companies where the pace and the demands are high and attention given to each individual employee is low. But this often uh, brings back, it just takes down that even the smaller businesses, the employees do get burned out. So the simple truth is that the size of the organization has nothing to do with the risk of its employees running out of the steam. The reason, it lies a lot deeper. So, and not every worker recognizes that they are suffering from burned out. So, therefore, a direct confrontation isn't always the best course of action. So, while a talk is required, and one should generally avoid bringing the term up and instead try to identify the causes and then address them with actions. So, there are two main routes is to go for a fast fix, although one should need take time and specific steps in order to solve the individual cases. So, by also keeping an eye on the employee's conduct and performance, so allow few weeks for the modifications to take effect for them, and also keeping a close eye on the quality of their work as well as their entire changes that has been taking place. So, employee burnout may have severe implications that affect not only the team but also the business, the organization. So overall, the supporting the employees' well-being and cultivating a culture of psychological safety will aid in burnout prevention.